Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the shadowy corridors of ancient China, where becoming Empress wasn't the fairy tale crown you might imagine, but a gilded trap laced with isolation sharper than any imperial blade. Imagine this in the heart of the Forbidden City. You're chosen as the one woman to rule beside the Emperor, yet statistics whisper that over 90% of empresses in dynasties like the Tang and Qing faced plots, poisonings, or exile, turning power into a slow-drip nightmare worse than binge-watching a horror series that never ends. Did you ever wonder why Zetian, China's only female emperor, had to claw her way up by allegedly framing rivals for witchcraft, only to spend her reign haunted by visions of their bloody ghosts, as if the palace walls themselves held grudges, or how Empress Dowager Cixi, pulling strings from behind the curtain, severed ties to her own family forever, like joining a cult where loyalty means forgetting your roots entirely. And here's the kicker: these women wielded immense influence, yet lived in constant paranoia, surrounded by eunuchs who spied like modern-day surveillance cams, making every whisper a potential betrayal. It flips the script on royal glamour. Doesn't it power that isolates you deeper than any solitary confinement, breeding quiet terror in opulent halls where silk feels like chains and jade thrones bite with unrelenting cold? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. Let me know where you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I love seeing how far this sleepy little time machine reaches. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You feel the frigid touch of jade first, that unyielding stone throne pressing against your spine like a lover's embrace gone wrong. Its chill seeping through layers of embroidered silk that promise luxury but deliver only the weight of expectation. Heavy as the humid air in this vast hall where shadows dance like forgotten secrets under flickering torchlight. Your skin prickles as eunuchs glide in silently, their whispers slithering through the incense-thickened atmosphere, carrying the Emperor's summons that marks the end of your old life and the start of this isolating ascent, where power whispers sweet nothings laced with lonely dread. You step forward on bound feet, the absurd historical tidbit that empresses like you endured lotus feet. Those tiny, deformed symbols of beauty achieved by breaking bones in childhood. A custom historians still debate as either elegant restraint or outright torture, making every movement a reminder of the pain you've normalized, worse than squeezing into high heels for a marathon date that never ends. The hall stretches endlessly, marble floors echoing your hesitant steps, and you catch a glimpse of your reflection in a polished bronze mirror, your face already paling under the white lead makeup that's fashionable but poisonous, slowly leaching toxins into your blood like a bad habit you can't quit, a factual peril that claimed the health of many imperial women, turning their glow into ghostly pallor over time. As you approach the throne, the Emperor's gaze lands on you indifferently, his silk robes rustling like dry leaves in a storm, and you wonder if this is the pinnacle or the prison. Sarcasm dripping in your mind like, congrats, you've won the ultimate reality show where the prize is ruling a dynasty, but the twist is everyone's plotting your downfall, more cutthroat than a corporate boardroom feud on steroids. The air grows thicker with the scent of sandalwood incense, meant to purify but only masking the underlying rot of court politics, where alliances shift like sand, and you feel the first pang of isolation as the eunuchs bow low, their eyes averted yet piercing, reminding you that from this moment, your family ties are severed by imperial decree, a shocking custom that left empresses like Zetian utterly alone, historians arguing whether it built unbreakable loyalty or just bred resentment that festered like an untreated wound. Your heart quickens, a physical thrum against the tight brocade that constricts your breath, and you kneel before the jade steps, the cold stone biting into your knees as the Emperor's voice booms with ritual formality, declaring you his consort, his equal in name but forever subordinate in the web of intrigue that's already spinning around you. Whispers mutate now, from the eunuch's soft murmurs to the imagined echoes of past empresses who fell to poison or exile. Their fate's a sad tapestry woven into the palace tapestries that hang like shrouds, and you can't help but empathize with them. These women who traded freedom for a throne, their stories folded naturally into yours as if the shadows themselves are recounting tales of betrayal. Zoom out for a moment, and the Forbidden City sprawls like a labyrinthine dream under the moon's indifferent gaze. Its red walls enclosing not just emperors, but the quiet horrors of ambition, where every corridor leads to another layer of deception, widening the perspective to reveal how one woman's rise echoes through centuries of silenced voices. But back in the chill, you rise slowly, the weight of the phoenix crown settling on your head, its golden prongs digging like accusations, and a eunuch hands you a scroll of decrees, the ink still fresh and sharp-scented, outlining your new duties managing the harem, advising on state matters, all while navigating the Emperor's whims that could elevate or erase you in a heartbeat. The sensory struggle intensifies as the jade's frigidity spreads to your fingertips, clutching the scroll, and you taste the irony on your tongue, bitter as unripe persimmon, thinking how this power feels less like victory and more like signing up for a lifetime subscription to suspicion, far worse than doom scrolling through social media feeds full of fake friends. A factual moment slips in as you recall how empresses like Tixi later in the Qing dynasty wielded regency from behind screens, their voices muffled yet commanding, a tradition born from this very isolation that turned women into shadows pulling strings, yet forever vulnerable to the men who claimed the light. The shocking element hits when a servant mentions in hushed tones the fate of your predecessor, demoted for failing to bear an heir, her cries echoing in memory like a distant storm, lightly dramatized in the way the torchlight flickers, casting grotesque shapes on the walls that mimic her despair. Sarcasm bubbles up again. Oh sure, unlimited banquets and silk. But who needs genuine companionship when you've got your army of spies disguised as attendants? Right. As the ceremony concludes, the Emperor extends a hand, his touch cool and detached, pulling you into the inner chambers where the air grows even heavier with unspoken rules, and you feel the lonely isolation coil around your chest like invisible vines, mutating the whispers into a chorus of doubt that promises more chills ahead. The shadows lengthen across the jade throne, pooling like ink spilled from a treacherous quill, leaving you with a psychological chill that whispers, what fresh solitude awaits in the dawn's unforgiving light. The dawn's unforgiving light creeps through latticed windows like a reluctant thief, casting pale fingers across the blooming gardens where cherry blossoms cling desperately to branches, their petals heavy with dew that mirrors the sweat now beading on your forehead as you cross the threshold into the inner palace. The massive gates sealing behind you with a resonant thud that echoes the finality of your fate, sealing you away from the world you once knew. You feel the crush of heavy embroidered robes first, those layers upon layers of silk and gold thread that drape over your shoulders like a living burden, each stitch a testament to imperial craftsmanship, yet pressing down with the weight of 1,000 expectations, making your bound feet ache anew as you navigate the pebbled paths where hidden bees hum in the underbrush, their stings a metaphor for the whispers that now assault your ears from the eunuchs flanking you, their voices low and insidious, buzzing with instructions on protocol that sting sharper than any insect because they remind you of your new vulnerability in this floral labyrinth. As you walk, the robe's heaviness mutates the chill from last night's jade throne into a clammy humidity that clings to your skin, the air thick with the scent of blooming jasmine mixed with the faint, underlying rot of overripe fruit fallen in shadowed corners, a sensory struggle that makes every breath feel laboured, as if the palace itself is conspiring to smother you under its opulent facade. Oh, the irony hits like a bad punchline in a stand-up routine gone wrong. You've traded the simple freedoms of your former life for this, a role that's basically the ultimate promotion with zero work-life balance. Worse than pulling all-nighters for a boss who might fire you on a whim, or in this case, exile you to some forgotten pavilion. The eunuchs guide you toward the Empress's quarters, their shaved heads bowing in feigned deference while their eyes dart like wary animals, and one of them, a wiry figure named Li, murmurs about the strict hierarchies of the harem, where you now sit at the precarious top as Empress, yet must manage a web of concubines below you, a factual layer of palace life where the Emperor's favour could shift like the wind, leaving even the highest-ranked woman scrambling for survival, as happened to countless predecessors in dynasties from Han to Qing. Your shoulders sag further under the robe's crush, the gold embroidery digging into your flesh like tiny accusations, and you catch a whiff of the eunuch's own peculiar scent camphor and something metallic, perhaps from the knives that ensured their loyalty, an absurd historical tidbit that these guardians of the inner court were castrated as boys to prevent scandals. turning them into eternal outsiders who wielded immense influence through whispers and spies. Historians still debating whether this custom preserved purity or just bred resentment that festered like hidden wounds in the Empire's heart. A physical event unfolds as Lee hands you a jade seal, its cool surface a mutated echo of last night's throne, symbolizing your authority over the women's quarters. But as you grasp it, a concubine emerges from the garden shadows, her smile poisoned with envy. Bowing low while her eyes sting like those hidden bees, introducing herself as May, a lower-ranked beauty whose family bribed her way in, and in that moment, you feel the first real pang of injustice, knowing that your position demands you oversee such rivalries, doling out favors and punishments that could mean life or death. A shocking element lightly dramatized in the way her fingers brush yours too lingeringly, hinting at alliances already forming against you. Sarcasm creeps in, whispering in your mind, "Great, you've got the corner office with a view, but the water cooler talk is all about backstabbing, literally. More treacherous than navigating office politics in a cutthroat Silicon Valley startup where everyone's gunning for your spot." As you enter the blooming pavilion, the gardens unfold in riotous color, petals drifting like silent confetti, but the beauty masks the filth of underlying intrigues, where whispers mutate into plans that could see you demoted or worse. And you empathize deeply with figures like Zetian, revisited here with a twist she started as a concubine, but rose through ruthless cunning, allegedly framing rivals with false accusations of witchcraft, a move that secured her throne but left her haunted by paranoia, turning her reign into a solitary vigil against imagined enemies. Zoom out for a breath, and the Forbidden City breathes as one vast organism under the rising sun, its red-tiled roofs curving like dragon spines across the horizon, enclosing not just stone and silk, but the fragile threads of human ambition that weave through time, widening to reveal how one woman's sealed fate echoes the isolation of empires long crumbled. But the sensory struggle pulls you back as the heavy robes chafe against your skin, sweat trickling down your spine in the humid morning air. And Lee explains the daily rituals ahead, endless ceremonies where infringement means horrific punishments, like being confined to cold cells or worse, a factual peril that claimed many empresses who stepped out of line, their stories folded into warnings that make your stomach twist with quiet terror. The shocking sadness comes when May mentions your severed family ties, a custom that isolates you completely, leaving you without allies from home, like being ghosted by your entire support network in the middle of a crisis. Far sadder than scrolling through old photos alone on a Friday night. Another moment of clever commentary bubbles up, thinking how these eunuch whispers are like spam emails that seem helpful, but are really fishing for your downfall. Oh, the joys of imperial life where trust is a luxury you can't afford. As the gardens give way to inner courtyards, you spot the Emperor in the distance, his figure a distant silhouette amid blooming arches, and the bees' hum fades into the rustle of leaves, but the stings linger in your mind, mutating into doubts about who among these floral guardians might betray you first. The heavy robes drag like chains now, pulling you deeper into the palace's embrace, and a psychological chill settles despite the warming sun, whispering, what venomous blooms will unfurl when the gates truly lock you in for the long haul. The morning air clings to your skin like a damp veil, thick with the scent of crushed peonies and the faint sour tang of vermilion pigments, as you sit before a polished bronze mirror, its cold surface reflecting your face, already a stranger's under the heavy mask of imperial makeup, where the sharp bite of the red paste, ground from cinnabar, stings your cheeks like a swarm of tiny wasps. A sensory struggle that's as much about enduring pain as it is about crafting an untouchable facade in this suffocating pavilion, where torchlight flickers like hesitant ghosts against lacquered walls. You wince as a maid. Her fingers, deft but impersonal, applies the toxic paste, its burn a reminder of the absurd historical tidbit that this beauty ritual, favoured by Tang Dynasty empresses, was a slow poison, leaching mercury into the bloodstream, a practice historians still debate as either a glamorous necessity or a deadly vanity that left women like Empress Wei pale and trembling by their 40s, their vitality sapped like a phone battery drained by endless notifications. The heavy robes from yesterday still weigh on your shoulders, now damp with morning humidity, mutating the chill of the jade throne into a clammy embrace that makes every movement laborious. as if you're wading through a swamp of silken obligation, while the distant wail of a flute carries echoes of severed family ties. A shocking custom that haunts you now. The realization that your parents, siblings, and childhood home are forbidden forever, like being unfriended by your entire past with no chance to appeal. Oh, the irony stings worse than the make-up congratulations. You're the Empress, the ultimate influencer of the Forbidden City, but your followers are spies, and your DMs are full of veiled threats, far more isolating than being shadow banned on social media with 0 likes to show for it. You rise from the mirror, the maid bowing low, her eyes averted but sharp, and step into the courtyard where the Emperor's morning audience awaits, your bound feet throbbing with each step on the cold stone tiles. A physical event that underscores the injustice of your role, commanding respect yet hobbled by tradition. Every gesture scrutinized by courtiers whose smiles hide daggers sharper than the ones they don't dare carry. The air grows heavier with the scent of stale incense, a mutated echo of last night's sandalwood, now clinging to the pavilion like the lingering guilt of those severed ties. And you recall a factual moment from history Empress Zetian, revisited with a twist, once stood here too, her own family banished to secure her loyalty, only to later order purges of her own kin. A move that solidified her power, but left her dreams haunted by their accusing shadows. A sad element that makes you empathize with her lonely climb. Her ambition a double-edged sword that cut her deeper than any rival's plot. Zoom out for a moment, and the Forbidden City unfolds like a tapestry under dawn's pale glow, its countless roofs curling like waves frozen in time, each one hiding stories of women who painted their faces and their fates, their echoes blending into the vast silence of a dynasty's relentless march. But the sensory struggle pulls you back as the vermilion pace dries, tightening your skin like a mask that's both armor and prison, and the flute's wail grows louder, carrying whispers of court gossip that your elevation has sparked unrest among the concubines, their jealousy already brewing like a storm you can't outrun. A courtier approaches, his silk robe rustling like dry leaves, presenting a scroll of decrees you must enforce tax levies, harem disputes, all while maintaining the Emperor's favor, a task as precarious as walking a tightrope in a windstorm, and you feel the injustice of it all, knowing that one misstep could see you demoted like Empress Chen of the Han dynasty, whose failure to produce an heir sent her to a cold, forgotten wing of the palace. Her story a chilling warning folded naturally into the scroll's weight in your hands. Sarcasm bubbles up. Oh great, you're basically running a medieval HR department where everyone's plotting to get you fired, and the employee handbook is written in riddles that could cost you your head, worse than deciphering a cryptic email from a passive-aggressive boss. As you move toward the audience hall, the torchlight flickers, casting grotesque shadows that mimic the courtier's false bows, and a young concubine, May from the gardens, reappears with a gift, a jade hairpin that feels too heavy, its sharp edge grazing your scalp as she places it. A lightly dramatized hint of malice that makes your pulse quicken, wondering if it's a gesture of alliance or a subtle threat. The shocking sadness hits when you overhear a servant whisper about your mother, now forbidden from even sending letters, her absence a wound deeper than the physical ache of your bound feet, like losing your entire support group to a glitch that deletes your contacts forever. Another wry thought slips in, imagine if these courtiers had group chats. They'd be roasting you in real time, plotting your downfall with emojis sharper than their smiles. The audience hall looms ahead, its doors carved with dragons that seem to watch you, their eyes glinting in the torchlight, and the flute's wail fades into the murmur of gathered nobles, their voices a chorus of expectation and envy. The vermilion sting lingers on your face, a reminder of the mask you wear, and as you step forward, the heavy robes drag like anchors, pulling you deeper into the court's churning sea of intrigue, leaving a psychological chill that whispers, how long can you paint over the cracks before the Emperor notices the shadows growing behind your throne? The air in the audience hall hums with the sharp scent of polished wood and nervous sweat, a cloying mix that sticks to your throat like overripe plums as you stand before the assembled courtiers, their eyes glinting like thorns hidden in a rose garden, each glance piercing your carefully painted mask while the damp chill of the marble floor seeps through your silk slippers, mutating the sting of yesterday's vermilion into a creeping cold that makes your bound feet ache as if they're bound anew. a sensory struggle that mirrors the precarious balance of your new role as Empress, where every step feels like crossing a frozen lake ready to crack under the weight of jealous ambition. You clutch the jade seal tightly, its icy edge biting into your palm, a physical reminder of your authority over the harem. But the concubine's whispers, sharp as the hidden bees from the gardens, graze your ears, their words laced with envy that cuts deeper than any blade. And you catch May's gaze again, her smile a poisoned bloom that promises alliance but reeks of betrayal, like signing up for a group project only to find your partners have already sold you out on Slack. Oh, the sarcasm drips like bitter tea. Welcome to the Imperial boardroom, where the PowerPoint is a scroll of decrees and the team-building exercise is surviving the day without someone slipping arsenic into your soup. A far cry from dodging passive-aggressive emails in a modern office. As you issue your first decree assigning duties to the concubines, a young woman named Leon steps forward, her eyes lowered but her voice sharp, requesting a private audience, and the physical event unfolds as she brushes past you, her sleeve leaving a faint scent of jasmine that masks something acrid. Perhaps the same poison used in courtly plots, an absurd historical tidbit that emperors and empresses alike feared meals laced with ground apricot pits, a toxin so subtle it could kill over months, leaving historians to debate whether half the Tang dynasty's deaths were natural or just well-executed catering disasters. The marble's chill creeps up your legs, amplifying the injustice of your position. You're meant to unify this fractious harem. Yet every word you speak sparks more resentment, like trying to mediate a family feud where everyone's already rewritten the will behind your back. A factual moment surfaces as you recall Empress Wu Zetian, revisited with a twist. She once managed these same rivalries by elevating loyal concubines, only to later exile them when their influence grew too strong. A ruthless chess move that secured her throne but left her surrounded by enemies who whispered her name like a curse, their stories woven into the very air you breathe, heavy with the weight of their betrayals. Zoom out for a breath, and the forbidden city pulses like a living beast under the noon sun. Its red walls and golden roofs a glittering cage that traps ambition and envy alike, widening to reveal how one woman's decrees ripple through centuries, stirring the same jealousies that toppled dynasties. But the sensory struggle pulls you back as the damp chill of the marble mutates into a slick unease, your robes now clinging to your skin like wet leaves, and Lian's request hangs in the air. Her words polite but edged, with a challenge that makes your pulse quicken, a shocking element lightly dramatized as her fingers linger on a silk fan, its painted peonies hiding a glint of something metallic, perhaps a concealed blade, a reminder that in this court, even gifts can kill. The sadness hits when you overhear a courtier mention your brother, now a distant memory, forbidden from contact by imperial edict, his absence a hollow ache deeper than the physical cold, like losing your best friend to a fight you never had a chance to resolve. Sarcasm bubbles up again. Fantastic. You're the CEO of this glittering snake pit, but the employee handbook is written in venom, and the suggestion box is just a trapdoor to exile. Worse than navigating a toxic workplace where the water cooler is spiked with shade. As the audience disperses, May lingers, her poisoned smile now joined by Lian's calculating stare, and the whispers escalate, hinting at secret alliances forming in the harem's shadowed corners, where loyalty is as fleeting as the torchlight flickering on the walls, casting grotesque shapes that mimic the courtier's hidden agendas. You move toward the inner chambers, the jade seal heavy in your hand. It's cold, a constant reminder of the power you wield and the isolation it demands, and the injustice of it all settles like dust, knowing that every decree you issue tightens the web of envy around you. The factual weight of history presses in. Empresses like Cixi and the Qing dynasty navigated these same rivalries, using spies to uncover plots, only to find their own allies turning against them, a cycle of mistrust that left them ruling alone, their thrones as cold as the marble beneath your feet. Another wry thought slips in. Imagine if these concubines had social media. They'd be subtweeting your every move, their hashtags sharper than their smiles, trending door Empress downfall before you even sit for dinner. The hall empties, leaving only the echo of your footsteps and the faint rustle of Leon's fan, its peonies swaying like a warning, and the damp chill lingers, mutating into a psychological shiver that whispers, What thorns will pierce deeper when the concubine's smiles turn to open defiance? The sweltering heat of the court assembly wraps around you like a suffocating blanket, woven from damp silk and unspoken accusations. The air thick with the foul scent of incense that fails to mask the underlying betrayal, clinging to your skin like sweat from a fever dream where every breath draws in the rot of decaying loyalties, making your head spin as if you've inhaled too much of the Emperor's favoured opium smoke. A custom that dulled the senses of Qing rulers, but left their consorts wide awake to the dangers lurking in every shadowed alcove. You stand beside the throne, the jade seal still cold in your grip despite the humidity that turns the marble floors slick underfoot, mutating the damp chill from earlier into a sticky film that crawls up your legs, a sensory struggle that mirrors the wavering unpredictability of the Emperor's favour. One day, a warm glance that elevates you. The next, a cold indifference that could send you tumbling into disgrace like so many before you. As the assembly begins, nobles and officials bow in waves, their silk robes rustling like a chorus of hissing snakes, and the Emperor turns to you with a fleeting smile that doesn't reach his eyes, his hand brushing yours in a gesture meant to affirm your status. But it feels hollow, like receiving a promotion email that's really just a prelude to layoffs. Oh, the irony of being the Empress top of the food chain in theory, but always one whim away from being chum in the shark tank of court politics. Worse than swiping right on a dating app only to find out your match is ghosting you after the first date. The physical event unfolds as he announces a grand banquet in your honour, a supposed celebration of your elevation. But whispers ripple through the crowd like ripples in a poisoned pond, hinting that May and Lian have already petitioned for more favour, their requests slipping into his ear during private moments you weren't privy to, and you feel the injustice of it all. Your role demanding unwavering loyalty while his affections scatter like petals in the wind. A shocking element lightly dramatised in the way his gaze lingers on a new concubine entering the hall. Her youthful grace a silent threat that makes your stomach churn with a mix of envy and dread. Sarcasm creeps in like an uninvited guest at the feast congrats. You're the main course in this imperial soap opera, where the plot twists are deadlier than any reality TV cliffhanger, and the audience is betting on your downfall with side wagers on who poisons you first. The foul scent intensifies as more incense is lit, its smoke curling like treacherous fingers, meant to honour the ancestors but only succeeding in masking the sweat of nervous courtiers whose alliances shift with the Emperor's moods. And you recall a factual moment from history Emperor Xuanzong of the Tang dynasty lavished favour on his consort Yang Guifei, elevating her family to power, only to have her executed during a rebellion to appease his troops, a twist that turned her from beloved to scapegoat overnight. Her story folded naturally into your own fears, as you wonder if your banquet will end in triumph or tragedy. Zoom out for a moment, and the Forbidden City simmers under the afternoon sun like a cauldron of forgotten dreams, its golden eaves reflecting the heat in waves that distort the air, widening to reveal how Emperor's whims have scorched the fates of countless women, their ashes scattered across the annals of time like incense residue on forgotten altars, but the sensory struggle yanks you back as the sweat beads on your forehead, mixing with the remnants of vermilion paint to create a stinging rivulet that traces down your cheek, amplifying the humidity's grip, and an absurd historical tidbit surfaces in your mind. These court assemblies often featured eunuchs fanning the Emperor with peacock feathers dipped in cooling essences, a luxury denied to you. Leaving historians to debate whether such inequalities fostered resentment or simply reinforced the divine hierarchy that kept empresses in perpetual discomfort, like being the +1 at a VIP party where you're not allowed to touch the hors d'oeuvres. As the assembly drags on, the Emperor's favour wavers visibly when he dismisses one of your suggestions on tax reforms, his voice sharp as a blade, praising instead a minister aligned with Lian's family, and the betrayal stings deeper than the incense's acrid bite. A sad element that evokes empathy for figures like Empress Dowager Cixi. Revisited here with a surprising twist, she manipulated emperors from behind the scenes in the late Qing, but even she endured the Emperor's unpredictable rages, once fleeing the palace in disguise during a coup attempt. Her power a fragile veil over the isolation that gnawed at her soul like termites in ancient wood. The modern comparison hits hard. It's like being in a toxic relationship where your partner's mood swings dictate your day, worse than refreshing a stock app during a market crash, watching your value plummet with every notification. Clever commentary slips in. thinking how these sweltering assemblies are basically ancient Zoom meetings. Everyone masked in formality but plotting in the chat sidebar, and the Emperor's the host who can mute you at any second. The foul scent mutates now, blending with the aroma of impending rain that thickens the air, promising relief but delivering only more stickiness. And as courtiers murmur approvals for the banquet plans, you overhear May whispering to a eunuch about a gift for the Emperor, her words crawling into your ears like unwelcome insects, heightening the paranoia that every smile hides a scheme. You force a composed nod, the jade seal slipping slightly in your sweaty palm, a physical slip that mirrors the Emperor's emotional one, and the injustice weighs heavier, knowing that, while he can indulge in whims, you're bound by duty to maintain harmony, doling out punishments to concubines who overstep, like Empress Lu of the Han Dynasty, who infamously dealt with rivals by cruel means. Her actions debated by scholars as necessary survival tactics or unchecked tyranny that ultimately led to her clan's downfall. The shocking sadness deepens when a messenger arrives with news of a distant rebellion, the Emperor's face hardening as he blames disloyal advisors, his gaze flickering to you with suspicion, as if your severed family ties aren't proof enough of your devotion, leaving you feeling more alone than ever, like being the last one standing in a game of musical chairs where the music never stops mocking you. Another sarcastic quip bubbles up. Oh, perfect. Your honeymoon phase as Empress is shorter than a viral TikTok trend, fading into the background noise of court drama where you're just another replaceable filter. As the assembly adjourns, the Emperor pulls you aside briefly, his breath warm against your ear as he promises the banquet will solidify your position. But his eyes betray distraction, wandering to the new concubine again, and the incense's foul cling lingers on your robes, a constant reminder of masked truths. The crowd disperses in a rustle of silken whispers, leaving the hall echoing with unspoken threats, and you retreat to your chambers, the sweltering heat following like a persistent shadow, mutating the sweat into a slick second skin that chafes with every step. Historians still argue over whether emperors like Yongzheng and the Qing truly loved their empresses or saw them as political tools, their favors as calculated as chess moves in a game where queens are sacrificed first. The empathy swells for those who came before, their wavering fates a cautionary tale whispered through the ages, and as you walk, the jade seal feels heavier, its cold a stark contrast to the humidity, symbolizing power that's as unreliable as the emperor's affections. The modern side returns. It's akin to chasing likes on social media, where one viral post can crown you, but the algorithm's shift sends you back to obscurity, far more exhausting than scrolling through endless feeds of filtered perfection. The banquet looms now, its preparations buzzing in the distance like a hive of deceitful bees, and you wonder if this celebration will be your pinnacle or the prelude to a fall, the foul scent fading slightly but leaving a bitter aftertaste on your tongue. Zoom out once more, and the palace gardens wilt under the relentless sun, petals curling like secrets withheld, the entire complex a microcosm of human frailty, where favors wax and wane dictate destinies as surely as the seasons. But back in the heat, a eunuch approaches with a sealed letter from Lian, its wax seal gleaming ominously, and as you break it, the words inside hint at a proposed alliance against May, pulling you deeper into the web of rivalries that the Emperor's unpredictability only exacerbates. The sensory struggle peaks as sweat drips into your eyes, blurring the ink, and the injustice of being caught in this endless dance of favor hits like a wave, where one wrong step could see you cast aside like yesterday's incense ashes. The absurd tidbit resurfaces Emperors sometimes tested loyalty with fake poison chalices, watching reactions to gauge trust, a practice that left empresses in constant dread, scholars debating if it built resilience or just paranoia that eroded empires from within. As the day wanes, the sweltering assembly's echoes fade, but the betrayal's cling remains, mutating into a psychological chill despite the heat, whispering what foul masks will slip when the Emperor's gaze turns cold for good. The hall's shadows lengthen like accusing fingers, pooling around the throne in strange patterns that mimic fractured alliances, leaving you with a mood shift toward wary anticipation as the banquet's hour draws near. The banquet hall pulses with the oppressive heat of 100 braziers, their flames licking the air like hungry tongues that turn the space into a sweltering cauldron where sweat trickles down your back in relentless rivulets. soaking through the layers of your silk robes until they cling to your skin like a second, suffocating layer of betrayal. The foul scent of incense thick with sandalwood and hidden poisons masking the acrid tang of nervous perspiration from the assembled courtiers, making every inhale a laboured effort that coats your lungs with the sticky residue of unspoken plots. As if the palace itself is exhaling its secrets into your face, daring you to choke on them. You stand at the Emperor's side, his arm linked loosely with yours in a display of favour that feels as fleeting as a summer storm. His touch warm yet distant, wavering like the flickering torchlight that casts elongated shadows across the gilded tables laden with delicacies, roast pheasant glistening with oils, steamed lotus roots that steam lazily into the humid air. But your mind races with the unpredictable shifts of his affection. One moment, praising your wisdom in front of the nobles, the next dismissing your counsel with a casual wave that stings sharper than the hidden barbs in the incense smoke. A sensory struggle that leaves your skin prickling with unease, the sweat mutating the earlier chill of the jade seal into a clammy film that crawls over you like invisible insects burrowing into your pores. Oh, the irony wraps around you like a bad blind date set up by fate itself. You're the Empress, the envy of the Empire, yet here you are, enduring the Emperor's mood swings that make him less predictable than a glitchy weather app, forecasting sunshine one minute and monsoons the next. Worse than relying on a flaky friend who cancels plans last second after you've already dressed up. As the feast commences, a physical event erupts when the Emperor raises his goblet in a toast to your union, his eyes locking onto yours with what seems like genuine warmth. But then they drift to May across the table, her laughter tinkling like delicate chimes, and he leans in to whisper a jest meant only for her, the betrayal hitting you like a subtle knife twist, lightly dramatized in the way his hand slips from yours to gesture animatedly, leaving your fingers grasping empty air. A shocking element that evokes a deep sadness for the isolation it breeds, knowing that in this vast hall filled with hundreds, you're utterly alone. Your position a gilded cage where favour is doled out like scraps to starving dogs. Sarcasm bubbles up in your thoughts, whispering, "Fantastic. You've got front row seats to the greatest show on earth, where the star is your husband and the plot revolves around how quickly he can forget you're the leading lady. More entertaining than binge-watching a rom-com that turns into a thriller halfway through." The foul scent of the incense intensifies as servants wave more censers, their smoke curling like treacherous serpents that obscure the faces around you, masking the whispers of intrigue that float through the assembly. And a factual moment slips in as you recall how Emperor Xuanzong of the Tang dynasty showered his consort Yang Guifei with unparalleled favour, elevating her to near Empress status and indulging her every whim, only to order her execution during the Anlushan rebellion to placate his mutinous soldiers. Her death a tragic pivot that highlighted the fragility of imperial affection, folded naturally into your own wavering reality, as you watch the Emperor's gaze linger too long on May, wondering if your fate will echo hers in some twisted historical rhyme. Zoom out for a lyrical breath, and the Forbidden City sprawls beneath the evening sky like a labyrinth of flickering lights, each brazier a tiny star in a constellation of human frailty, where emperors' hearts beat to the rhythm of power's fickle drum, widening the perspective to encompass dynasties risen and fallen on the whims of one man's glance, their echoes resonating through the humid night like distant thunder. But the sensory struggle yanks you back as the sweat beads merge into streams that drip from your brow, stinging your eyes and blurring the opulent spread before you, the heat mutating the torchlight's flicker into a hazy glow that dances mockingly on the faces of Leon and other concubines, their smiles sharp as concealed daggers, and an absurd historical tidbit surfaces in your mind the Emperor's often selected nightly companions by flipping name plaques like a morbid game of chance, a custom that reduced women to lottery tickets in the harem's grand draw. Historians still debating whether it fostered fairness or merely amplified the jealousy that simmered like the banquet's bubbling soups, turning the palace into a pressure cooker of resentments ready to explode. You force a smile as the Emperor turns back to you, his favour wavering once more as he compliments your robe's embroidery, a hollow gesture that feels like breadcrumbs tossed to keep you content, and the injustice piles on, your role demanding you host this feast with grace while inside you seethe at the double standard he can flirt openly. But one wrong word from you could spark accusations of disloyalty. a sad element that deepens your empathy for Empress Zetian. Revisited here with a surprising twist, she began as a lowly concubine, but manipulated the Emperor's favor by allegedly bearing his child and then framing the Empress for its death. A ruthless ascent that secured her position, but left her forever paranoid. Her story a cautionary tale of how wavering affections can forge monsters out of survivors. The modern comparison strikes like a sudden insight. It's akin to being in a high-stakes corporate merger, where your partner's loyalty shifts with the stock market. One day you're the golden child, the next you're sidelined for a flashier intern. Far more exhausting than juggling multiple tabs on a crashing browser. Clever commentary slips in again, thinking how these court assemblies are like awkward family reunions where everyone's polite to your face but gossiping about inheritance behind your back, and the Emperor's the eccentric uncle who changes the will on a whim. As the banquet progresses, the foul scent clings stubbornly, blending with the aromas of spiced meats and fermented wines that turn your stomach, and a eunuch approaches with a tray of delicacies, his bow low but his eyes darting suspiciously, whispering that rumours of a plot against you have reached the Emperor's ears, planted perhaps by May to erode his trust, heightening the paranoia that makes every sip of wine taste like potential poison. You glance at the Emperor, his laughter booming now at Lian's witty remark, his favour ebbing away visibly like the tide pulling from shore, and the heat bears down harder, sweat soaking your sleeves until they feel like wet rags draped over weary limbs. The incense's mask cracking to reveal the underlying filth of deceit that permeates the air. Historians argue over whether such betrayals were inevitable in the harem system, where multiple wives vied for one man's attention, or if they stemmed from the Emperor's own insecurities that bred division to maintain control, a debate that underscores the systemic injustice you navigate daily. The shocking sadness swells when you overhear a servant murmur about your predecessor's fate demoted after losing favour, confined to a remote pavilion where she withered in solitude, her cries ignored like fading echoes in the wind, a lightly dramatised reminder that your current perch is as precarious as a leaf in autumn. Another sarcastic quip rises, "Oh, brilliant. You've hit the jackpot of relationships, where loyalty is optional for him but mandatory for you, like playing a rigged game of Monopoly where he owns all the properties and you just pass go to collect suspicion." The assembly drags on, toasts multiplying like the plots around you, and as dancers swirl in colourful silks, their movements a blur in the humid haze. You feel the Emperor's hand return to yours briefly, a flicker of warmth that teases stability but vanishes as quickly as it came, leaving you adrift in the sea of faces. The torchlight mutates now, its flames dimming slightly as servants add more fuel, casting grotesque shadows that twist like conspirators on the walls, and the foul scent lingers, a constant companion that whispers of masks about to slip. Zoom out once more, and the palace banquet hall becomes a microcosm of empire, its heat a forge where alliances are hammered and broken, the night sky above indifferent to the human dramas unfolding below, stars twinkling like distant, uncaring eyes. But back in the swelter, a minister approaches with a scroll of state matters, the Emperor deferring to you for a moment before overriding your input with a chuckle, his favour wavering yet again, and the injustice burns hotter than the braziers, your voice buried under his casual dismissal. The absurd tidbit returns some empresses resorted to bribing eunuchs with rare perfumes to sway the Emperor's nightly choices, a desperate gamble that often backfired into scandals, scholars debating if it empowered women or just deepened their subjugation in the gilded trap. As the wines flow freer, tongues loosen, and you catch fragments of conversation hinting at alliances forming against you. The sweat now a torrent that chills as it evaporates in sudden drafts from open doors, mutating the heat into an unpredictable torment that mirrors his affections perfectly. The empathy deepens for Yang Guifei, whose favour led to her family's rise and fall, executed on a whim to save the Emperor's skin, her betrayal a stark warning etched in history's pages. The modern aside resurfaces. It's like dating a celebrity whose fans dictate your worth. One bad review and you're yesterday's news, worse than trending for all the wrong reasons on Twitter. The banquet's energy peaks, music swelling like a heartbeat out of sync, and you endure it all. The foul scent clinging like a curse, the sweat a testament to your silent suffering. The shadows on the walls coalesce into strange forms resembling fractured crowns, pooling at your feet like omens of instability, leaving a psychological chill that seeps through the heat, whispering, How much longer can you cling to this wavering light before the plots thicken into unbreakable darkness? The twilight air in the Forbidden City thickens with a humid heaviness that presses against your chest like a velvet anvil, each breath pulling in the cloying scent of lotus blossoms wilting in the evening's oppressive embrace, their sweetness soured by the faint underlying stench of political decay that seeps from the palace walls, as if the very stones are sweating secrets too rancid to hold, making your skin crawl with a cold sweat that soaks your silk sleeves, mutating the sweltering banquet's heat into a chilling dampness that clings like a shroud, a sensory struggle that mirrors the silent thickening of plots around you, where every whispered word feels like a drop of ink spreading through water, impossible to contain or clarify. You move through the inner corridors toward the Emperor's private chambers, summoned for a rare audience, your bound feet throbbing on the cool jade tiles that gleam under flickering torchlight, each step a reminder of the absurd historical tidbit that empresses were expected to glide gracefully despite the agony of lotus feet, a practice that broke bones to mold beauty, historians still debating whether it symbolized refinement or simply shackled women to a lifetime of pain, like signing up for a fashion trend that's as torturous as it is trendy. Worse than teetering in stilettos for a marathon nobody asked you to run, the heavy robes drag behind you, their damp weight pulling at your shoulders like the expectations of a court that demands your composure while plotting your downfall. And oh, the sarcasm curls in your mind like smoke congratulations. You're the star of this imperial reality show, but the scriptwriters are all double agents, and the director's notes change faster than a trending hashtag, leaving you scrambling to keep up in a game rigged from the start, more exhausting than dodging spoilers for a series finale you're still living through. A physical event unfolds as you reach the chamber doors, where a eunuch named Wei, his face as unreadable as a blank scroll, hands you a lacquered box containing a silk scroll from the Emperor, its wax seal embossed with a dragon that seems to leer at you. And as you break it, the parchment unfurls to reveal orders to oversee a new tax decree, a task that will anger the northern provinces already bristling under imperial rule, setting you up as the scapegoat for their discontent. A shocking injustice that twists in your gut like a blade, lightly dramatized in the way Wei's eyes flicker with something like pity before he bows and retreats, his slippers whispering betrayal across the jade. The cold sweat intensifies, pooling at the small of your back, a mutated echo of the banquet's humid torment, and the air grows denser with the scent of burning oil from the torches, their flames casting grotesque shadows that dance like conspirators plotting in plain sight, reminding you of the factual moment when Empress Zetian, revisited with a twist, orchestrated tax reforms to fund her campaigns, only to face rebellions that forced her to execute loyal generals to quell unrest. A ruthless choice that solidified her power but left her haunted by their ghostly accusations. Her story woven into the scroll's weight in your hands, a warning that power breeds enemies faster than it builds allies. Zoom out for a moment, and the Forbidden City sprawls under a twilight sky streaked with clouds like torn silk. Its courtyards and pavilions a labyrinth of ambition, where plots thicken like the humid air, widening to reveal how one woman's decrees echo through centuries of silenced voices, their grievances piling like snowdrifts in a dynasty's frozen heart. But the sensory struggle pulls you back as the cold sweat soaks through your robes, chilling your skin despite the warmth, and the Emperor's voice greets you from within, his tone warm but laced with a calculated edge, praising your diligence before casually mentioning rumors of disloyalty among your attendants, his words landing like stones in a still pond, rippling unease through your bones. The injustice stings deeper than the jade's bite, knowing you're tasked with enforcing decrees that paint you as the villain, while he remains untarnished, his favor as fickle as a social media algorithm that boosts you one day and buries you the next. A modern comparison that hits like a notification you dread opening. Sarcasm creeps in again. Splendid. You're the middle manager of the empire, pushing paperwork that could get you cancelled by an entire province. Like being stuck in a group chat where everyone's arguing and you're the one tagged to fix it. Worse than moderating a Reddit thread spiraling into chaos. As you kneel before him, the torchlight flickers, casting his face in shifting shadows that make his intentions unreadable, and he gestures for you to sit, offering a cup of tea that you hesitate to take, recalling another absurd tidbit court teas was sometimes laced with slow-acting poisons like aconite, a practice so common that empresses employed tasters. Yet historians debate whether these precautions saved lives or merely delayed the inevitable, turning every sip into a gamble with death. The tea's steam carries a faint metallic tang, amplifying your paranoia, and the Emperor's next words deepen the chill as he questions your handling of the harem, hinting that May's whispered complaints have reached him, her influence growing like mold in the palace's damp corners, a sad element that evokes empathy for Empress Dowager Cixi, who navigated similar accusations in the Qing dynasty, using spies to uncover plots only to find her own allies turning. Her isolation a mirror to your own as you realize even your closest attendants might be bought by a rival's coin. The modern aside resurfaces. It's like running a startup where your co-founder's secretly pitching to competitors, undermining you while you're still coding the app. More draining than debugging a program that crashes every time you think it's stable. The torchlight mutates now, its flames dimming as a draft sweeps through, carrying the scent of rain-soaked earth from the gardens outside. And Wei returns, his presence a silent reminder of the thickening plots. His earlier pity now replaced by a neutral mask that makes you question his loyalty. You sip the tea cautiously, its warmth doing little to dispel the cold sweat. And the Emperor leans closer, his breath heavy with wine, promising support but warning that the Northern Lords expect results. Their loyalty as fragile as the silk scroll in your hands, which feels heavier with each passing second, like carrying a deadline that could cost you everything. Historians still argue over whether empresses like you are pawns or players in these political games, their influence overstated by some and dismissed by others. But the weight of this decree proves you're both empowered yet trapped, your voice buried under the Emperor's whims like snowdrifts smothering a village. The shocking sadness hits when you recall your family, their faces fading in memory due to the imperial edict that severed your ties, leaving you to face these plots alone, like being ghosted by your entire support system just when you need a lifeline most. A loneliness deeper than scrolling through old messages on a phone you can't unlock. Another sarcastic quip bubbles up great. You're the queen of this chessboard, but the pawns are plotting a coup, and the king's too busy flirting to notice, like being stuck in a board game where the rules change mid-move and everyone's cheating except you. As the audience ends, the Emperor dismisses you with a nod, his favour wavering again as he mentions a meeting with Lian tomorrow, her rising star another thorn in your side, and you exit the chamber, the jade tiles colder now, reflecting the torchlight in eerie patterns that mimic fractured alliances. The cold sweat lingers, a constant companion that chills your bones despite the humid air, and the scent of lotus blossoms fades, replaced by the metallic tang of the tea that lingers on your tongue, a reminder of the poison that might not be in the cup but is certainly in the air. Zoom out once more, and the palace becomes a silhouette against the stormy sky, its walls enclosing 1,000 plots that simmer like the brewing clouds, the night alive with the rustle of unseen conspiracies weaving through the corridors like threads in a tapestry of betrayal. But back in the chill, a servant approaches with a sealed message from an unknown sender, its wax seal unmarked, and as you break it, the words inside hint at a Northern Lord's discontent with your decree, suggesting a rebellion brewing under your name, pulling you deeper into the thickening web of intrigue. The sensory struggle peaks as the cold sweat drips into your eyes, blurring the parchment, and the injustice of being blamed for policies you didn't create burns hotter than the torches, your role a paradox of power and powerlessness. The absurd tidbit resurfaces some empresses resorted to wearing hidden charms sewn into their robes to ward off evil, a superstitious act that scholars debate as either desperate faith or a placebo for courage in a court where trust was rarer than jade. As you walk back to your quarters, the torchlight casts long shadows that twist like accusing fingers, pooling around your feet like inky warnings, and the psychological chill deepens, whispering, what venomous thorns will pierce through the silence when the plots finally bloom into open rebellion? The midnight humidity drapes over the palace like a heavy shroud soaked in the day's lingering heat, pressing against your skin with a sticky insistence that makes every fold of your silk nightrobe cling uncomfortably. The air thick with the bitter tang of suspicion that lingers on your tongue like the aftertaste of unsweetened tea, a sensory struggle that turns each swallow into a wary act, as if the very atmosphere is laced with invisible toxins waiting to seep into your bloodstream during these humid nights where paranoia breathes heavily down your neck, its warm exhale rustling the gauzy curtains that fail to block the distant hum of crickets in the gardens below. You pace the dimly lit chamber, the jade tiles underfoot slick with condensation that mutates the cold sweat from earlier political machinations into a slippery film, making your bound feet slide precariously with every step, a reminder of the absurd historical tidbit that empresses often wore slippers embroidered with protective charms against poison, tiny talismans sewn in by loyal maids. Though historians still debate whether these wards were genuine beliefs in mysticism or just desperate placebos in a court where death came disguised as a sip from a shared cup. Like relying on a lucky keychain to survive a corporate merger gone sour, the torchlight flickers weakly from wall sconces, casting elongated shadows that twist like coiling serpents across the lacquered screens, their flames sputtering in the moisture-laden air, and the irony settles in your thoughts like a bad after-dinner mint you're the most powerful woman in the empire. Yet here you are, eyeing every chalice and bowl as if it's a loaded app notification that could crash your entire life. Worse than scrolling through a feed full of vague booking friends who might be subtweeting your every move. A physical event intrudes as a soft knock echoes at the chamber door, and away the eunuch enters bearing a silver tray with a single porcelain chalice of herbal tea. Steam rising in lazy curls that carry a faint herbal bitterness mixed with something unfamiliar, perhaps jasmine. Or is it the subtle note of suspicion that sharpens your senses, making you hesitate before accepting it? His bow low and eyes averted, but glinting with that same ambiguous pity from before, a shocking element lightly dramatized in the way his fingers tremble slightly as he sets it down, hinting at knowledge he dare not voice, leaving you to wonder if this brew is a gesture of loyalty or the opening salvo in a plot thickening like the humid fog outside. Sarcasm whispers in your mind. Oh, perfect. Bedtime stories in the Forbidden City come with a side of potential arsenic, like ordering room service only to find out the chef's got a grudge and the tip jar's poisoned. More nerve-wracking than waiting for a delivery app to confirm your order in a sketchy neighborhood. The bitter tang intensifies as you lift the chalice to your lips, pausing to inhale deeply, the steam warming your face but failing to dispel the paranoia that coils tighter in your chest. And a factual moment folds in as you recall Empress Zetian, revisited here with a surprising twist. She survived numerous poisoning attempts by employing food tasters who were often eunuchs or low-born servants, but in one lesser-known incident, she allegedly poisoned her own son to eliminate a rival heir, a ruthless act that secured her regency but left her nights haunted by hallucinations of his accusing gaze. Her legacy, a tapestry of triumph, woven with threads of self-inflicted isolation that mirrors your own growing dread in this steamy chamber. Zoom out for a lyrical breath, and the Forbidden City slumbers under a moon veiled in mist, its red walls and curving roofs a silent sentinel to centuries of whispered treacheries, where chalices have toppled thrones and suspicions have birthed empires from the ashes of paranoia, widening the perspective to encompass the fragile dance of power that sways like lantern light in a gentle breeze. But the sensory struggle yanks you back as the humidity beads on your forehead, mixing with cold sweat to trickle down your temples in salty paths that sting your eyes, blurring the torchlight into hazy halos, and you set the chalice down untasted, your tongue dry despite the moisture in the air, the bitter tang now a phantom flavor that makes every shadow suspect. The eunuch lingers a moment too long, his breath heavy in the humid silence, and you dismiss him with a sharp word, watching as he glides out like a ghost, the door clicking shut with a finality that echoes the sealing of fates in this gilded prison, where alliances fray like wet silk under strain. The injustice of it all settles like a weight on your shoulders, knowing that as Empress, you're expected to sip from these potentially poisoned wells of trust, doling out decrees by day while dodging daggers by night, a sad element that deepens your empathy for Empress Dowager Cixi, who in her later years survived assassination attempts involving tainted fruit sent as gifts, her paranoia leading her to isolate herself further, turning the palace into a fortress of solitude where even family became foes. Her story, a cautionary whisper that power's cup is often brimmed with bitterness. The modern comparison strikes vividly. It's like navigating a group text where every emoji hides a subtext of sabotage. One wrong reply and you're out of the loop forever. Far more isolating than being left on red in a digital age of ghosting. Clever commentary slips in, thinking how these humid nights are like a bad spa retreat, where the steam room's meant for relaxation, but instead fogs up the mirrors to your enemy's advantage, and the complimentary drink might just be the final curtain call. As you extinguish a nearby torch, the flame hissing in protest against the damp wick, the chamber darkens, shadows pooling deeper like spilled ink, and paranoia breathes heavier, its rhythm syncing with your quickened pulse, making you question every creak of the wooden beams overhead. Perhaps a servant lurking in the rafters, or just the palace settling under the night's weight. You approach the chalice again, its porcelain cool to the touch now, the steam dissipated into the humid air, and a faint sediment at the bottom catches the remaining torchlight, a speck that could be harmless herbs or the deadly residue of ground pearls mixed with toxin, an absurd tidbit that some poisons were disguised as medicinal pearls, ground fine and stirred into drinks, a method debated by scholars as either alchemical folly or ingenious assassination art that felled more nobles than battles ever did. The bitter tang returns to your tongue unbidden, a psychosomatic echo that makes you push the chalice away, spilling a drop that spreads on the table like an omen, and the humidity amplifies every sound, the distant thunder rumbling like discontented courtiers. The soft patter of rain beginning outside, turning the gardens into a slick morass where secrets might drown or float to the surface. Historians argue over whether such poisonings were exaggerated in folklore to demonize powerful women like you, or if they were commonplace tools in the arsenal of ambition. But the chalice's looming presence proves the threat real enough to chill your blood despite the heat. The shocking sadness wells up as you think of the tasters who might have died in your place, nameless souls sacrificed to your safety, their absence a hollow void in the palace's underbelly, like forgotten extras in a blockbuster where only the leads get the credit and the peril. Another sarcastic quip rises, "Bravo! You've upgraded to VIP status where the perks include personal poison checks." But the fine print warns that side effects may include eternal distrust and a side of insomnia, worse than subscribing to a mystery box service that delivers duds and dangers. The rain intensifies, drumming against the tiled roof like impatient fingers, and you move to the window, peering into the humid night where lightning flashes illuminate the gardens in stark relief. Branches swaying like conspirators in the wind, their leaves heavy with water that drips relentlessly. The torchlight behind you mutates into a single, wavering glow, its flame struggling against the draft seeping through cracks, casting your shadow long and distorted on the wall, a giantess looming over the chalice that sits innocently on the table, its contents cooling into mystery. The paranoia's heavy breath seems to emanate from the shadows themselves now, wrapping around you like a lover's embrace turned possessive, and as thunder crashes closer, shaking the chamber slightly, you feel the isolation deepen, the palace a vast, humid labyrinth, where every turn leads to another suspect chalice waiting in the dark. Zoom out once more, and the storm envelops the forbidden city like a living entity. Rain lashing the red walls and golden eaves, washing away the day's deceptions only to birth new ones in the puddles that reflect a fractured moon. The entire complex a testament to the enduring cycle of suspicion that has outlasted emperors and eras alike. But back in the chamber, the bitter tang persists, a constant companion that sours even the thought of sleep, and as you blow out the last torch, plunging the room into darkness, broken only by lightning's sporadic glare, a psychological chill settles despite the humidity, whispering, what poisoned breaths will fill the air when the chalices multiply and the nights grow even heavier with unspoken dread? The shadows coalesce into strange forms, resembling twisted chalices overturned, spilling darkness across the floor like wine stained with secrets, pooling at your feet in silent accusation. The rain-soaked night cloaks the forbidden city in a glistening sheen, its red walls slick with moisture that mirrors the clammy dread soaking through your silk nightrobe, the fabric clinging to your skin like a second layer of fear as you navigate the shadowed corridors toward the Hall of Supreme Harmony, where the Emperor has summoned an emergency council under the guise of addressing a family purge, the air heavy with the musky stench of wet stone and the sour undercurrent of blood-tainted rumours that swirl like the storm outside, their bitterness gnawing at your bones with a relentless ache, a sensory struggle that makes each step feel like wading through a river of mistrust, the humidity amplifying the weight of every breath until it feels like inhaling betrayal itself. The torchlight sputters weakly against the damp walls, casting grotesque shadows that twist like the ghosts of purged kin. Their flickering forms a mutated echo of the poisoned chalice's ominous glow, and your bound feet throb with a dull pain that pulses in time with your racing heart. A reminder of the absurd historical tidbit that empresses were often forced to oversee executions of their own relatives to prove loyalty. A custom so brutal that historians debate whether it was a necessary sacrifice to secure the throne, or a sadistic ritual designed to break the spirit. Like signing a contract that demands you fire your entire family to keep your corner office. Worse than facing a performance review where failure means exile or death. Oh, the sarcasm drips like the rain through a cracked roof. Welcome to the Imperial family reunion, where the guest list is a hit list, and the party favours are accusations sharper than any modern-day cancel culture takedown, leaving you to wonder if you're the host or the next name on the chopping block. A physical event unfolds as you enter the hall, where the Empress sits enthroned, his face carved in stern lines under the flickering torchlight, and he gestures for you to stand beside him, announcing that a cousin of yours, once a minor official, has been implicated in a plot against the throne, his name now synonymous with treason, and you're tasked with pronouncing his sentence, exile, or execution, a shocking injustice that burns in your chest like a swallowed ember, lightly dramatized in the way his eyes bore into yours, searching for weakness, as if your hesitation could brand you complicit in the same disloyalty. The musky stench of wet stone grows heavier, mingling with the faint iron tang of imagined blood. A sensory assault that makes your stomach churn as you grip the jade seal, its cold surface biting into your palm like a silent accusation, and the ache in your bones deepens, a physical echo of the emotional toll as you realize this purge could sever the last threads of your past, leaving you more isolated than ever, like being the last survivor in a group chat where everyone's been muted for good. A factual moment weaves in as you recall Empress Zetian. Revisited with a twist, she orchestrated purges of her own clan to eliminate rivals, but in a lesser-known act, she later wept in private for her banished brother. Her tears a secret kept from history's pages, her story a mirror to your own as you face this impossible choice, knowing that sparing your cousin might doom you, while condemning him will haunt your nights like a recurring nightmare. Zoom out for a lyrical breath, and the Forbidden City huddles beneath the storm like a wounded beast, its rain-slicked roofs reflecting lightning in fractured glints, widening to reveal a legacy of purges that carved dynasties from the bones of kin, their cries swallowed by the thunder that rolls through centuries of silenced grief. But the sensory struggle yanks you back as the wet stone's musk invades your lungs, the humidity pressing against your temples until they throb, and the courtiers' murmurs rise like a tide, their faces blurred in the torchlight's haze, each one a potential ally or enemy in this escalating game of survival. The Emperor's voice cuts through, cold and commanding, urging you to speak, and you force the words out, sentencing your cousin to exile, your voice steady but your heart fracturing with every syllable. The injustice of it all a weight heavier than the sodden robes dragging at your shoulders, like being forced to unfollow your closest friend on social media to save face in a toxic workplace. Worse than any modern betrayal that leaves you refreshing a blank feed for connection. Sarcasm slithers in again. Oh, marvelous. You're the judge, jury, and executioner in this medieval courtroom drama, where the script demands you betray your blood to prove your worth, like starring in a reality show where the prize is a throne, but the cost is your soul, more draining than surviving a Twitter storm of outrage. The torchlight mutates now, its flames dimming as the rain's patter grows louder, casting shadows that writhe like the ghosts of those already purged, and a eunuch named Lee approaches, his face a mask of neutrality as he hands you a scroll detailing the charges, its ink smudged by damp fingers, the accusations flimsy yet deadly, hinting at a broader conspiracy that could implicate you next. The ache in your bones spreads, a physical torment that mirrors the emotional one, and you catch a glimpse of May in the crowd, her eyes gleaming with a satisfaction that chills you deeper than the wet stone, her whispered rumours likely the spark that ignited this purge, a sad element that deepens your empathy for Empress Dowager Kixi, who faced similar purges in the Qing dynasty, executing relatives to maintain control, only to find her court emptier, her power a hollow crown that echoed with the screams of those she loved, her isolation a warning etched in the shadows now pooling at your feet. The modern comparison lands hard. It's like being forced to fire your best work friend to save your job, knowing the boss will turn on you next. Worse than watching your LinkedIn connections dwindle after a corporate scandal you didn't start. Clever commentary slips in, thinking how these family purges are like cleaning out your contacts list. But instead of deleting old numbers, you're erasing lives, and the notification sound is a death knell ringing through the palace. The absurd tidbit surfaces an ancient custom, allowed empresses to spare one family member per purge by offering a symbolic jade token, but only if they publicly disavowed them first. A ritual scholars debate is either merciful or cruelly performative, like posting a public apology online to save face while knowing it won't heal the wound. The hall grows quieter as the Emperor nods approvingly, but his gaze lingers on Lian, her presence a subtle reminder of his wavering favour, and the musky stench of wet stone blends with the faint perfume of her robes, a calculated sweetness that makes you question if she's the architect of this purge. Her ambition a blade hidden in silk. The torchlight flickers erratically now, casting grotesque patterns that mimic broken family trees, and the rain outside pounds harder, as if mourning the kin you've just condemned. The injustice of it all a bitter pill that lodges in your throat, choking you with the realization that every decision you make widens the chasm between you and any hope of connection. Historians argue over whether such purges strengthened dynasties by rooting out dissent or merely sowed seeds of rebellion that bloomed later. Their debates a distant echo in your mind as you clutch the jade seal, its coldness a constant reminder of the power that isolates you further with each use. The shocking sadness swells when you imagine your cousin's face, now banished to a distant frontier, his name erased from the family records like a deleted profile, leaving you to bear the guilt alone, like carrying a photo you can't bear to look at but can't throw away. Another sarcastic quip rises well done. You've just played the ultimate loyalty card, but the deck's stacked, and the house always wins, like betting your life savings on a game show where the host changes the rules mid-round. The council disperses, courtiers slipping away like shadows into the rain-soaked night, and you retreat to your chambers, the wet stone's musk following you like a persistent ghost. The ache in your bones now a full-body throb that matches the storm's rhythm. The torchlight fades behind you, leaving only the sound of rain and the faint creak of the palace settling, as if it too mourns the losses piling like snowdrifts in your heart. Zoom out once more, and the forbidden city becomes a silhouette in the storm, its walls a testament to the endless cycle of purges that carve power from pain, the rain washing away traces of blood but not the memories that linger like damp stains. But back in the corridor, a servant approaches with a sealed letter, its wax unmarked and damp, hinting at another accusation brewing in the shadows, pulling you deeper into the web of mistrust. The sensory struggle peaks as the musky stench fills your lungs, the humidity pressing against your eyes until they burn, and the injustice of being both judge and victim in this relentless purge cuts deeper than any blade. The absurd tidbit lingers. Some empresses kept secret diaries of their purges, hidden in hollowed-out jade statues, their confessions a cry for absolution that scholars debate as either cathartic or futile, like writing a blog post nobody will ever read. As you reach your chamber door, the torchlight's last flicker casts a shadow resembling a broken jade token, pooling on the floor like spilled grief, and the psychological chill deepens, whispering, what sharper wounds will bleed when the purges turn inward, and the ghosts of your own kin rise to haunt you. The storm's relentless drumbeat fades into a suffocating stillness as you stand in your private chamber, the air thick with the cloying residue of jasmine incense that fails to mask the metallic tang of fear clinging to your tongue, its sharpness cutting through the humid haze like a blade through silk, making every breath a laboured act that coats your lungs with the weight of Regency's tightening grip, a sensory struggle that presses against your chest like iron chains forged from the Emperor's growing distrust, their cold links biting into your skin as surely as the damp night robe that clings to your trembling frame, mutating the musky stench of wet stone into a claustrophobic dread that wraps around you like a tightening noose in this midnight hour where the palace feels less like a home and more like a tomb, sealing you in with your own paranoia. The torchlight gutters in its sconce, casting wavering shadows that twist like traitors turning in the dark, their grotesque forms a mutated echo of the purged kin's accusing silhouettes, and your bound feet ache with a bone-deep throb as you pace the jade-tiled floor, each step a reminder of the absurd historical tidbit that empresses were sometimes confined to their chambers during regency crises, their movements restricted by imperial decree to prevent rebellion, a custom historians debate as either strategic control or cruel imprisonment, like being put on house arrest with a smart lock that tracks your every move, worse than living in a gated community where the HOA is armed with execution orders. Oh, the sarcasm slithers through your thoughts like a bitter aftertaste. Congratulations! You're the Regent Empress, the ultimate shot caller, but your throne's a straitjacket, and the council's whispering your name like it's trending on a blacklist. More isolating than being shadow banned on every platform with no appeal button in sight. A physical event erupts as a sharp rap at the door startles you, and Wei the eunuch enters, his face paler than the moon outside, bearing a sealed edict from the Emperor, its wax seal cracked as if opened and resealed in haste, and as you unfurl it, the words command you to assume temporary regency over state affairs while he attends to a border skirmish, a shocking responsibility that tightens the chains of isolation around you. Lightly dramatized in the way Wei's eyes dart nervously, his voice trembling as he whispers that Lian has been seen meeting with disgraced nobles in secret, her loyalty shifting like sand underfoot, a betrayal that stings deeper than the cold jade seal you clutch. Its icy edge now a familiar torment against your palm. The metallic tang intensifies, a sensory assault that makes your throat constrict, and the injustice of it all burns like a swallowed coal. Knowing you're tasked with ruling in his absence while navigating a court where allies turn to shadows faster than a trending topic fades. Your regency a poisoned gift that elevates your power, but isolates you further. Like being promoted to CEO of a sinking startup with a boardroom full of backstabbers. A factual moment slips in as you recall Empress Zetian, revisited with a twist. She seized regency after her husband's illness, but her bold decrees sparked conspiracies that forced her to execute her own advisors, a move that cemented her rule but left her chambers haunted by their spectral reproaches. Her story a mirror to your own as you face this edict, its ink heavy with the weight of decisions that could bury you in history's unforgiving pages. Zoom out for a lyrical breath, and the Forbidden City lies hushed under a starless sky, its rain-slicked roofs gleaming like the scales of a sleeping dragon, widening to reveal a tapestry of regents who wielded power only to find it a chain that bound them to solitude, their echoes mingling with the night's oppressive silence like whispers trapped in amber. But the sensory struggle yanks you back as the jasmine incense's cloying sweetness chokes you, mutating into a sickly film that coats your mouth, and the torchlight's flicker casts grotesque patterns that mimic fractured crowns, amplifying the paranoia that makes every creak of the palace beams sound like footsteps plotting your downfall. He lingers, his presence a silent accusation, and you dismiss him with a curt nod, but not before he murmurs a warning about May's growing influence, her whispers now reaching the Emperor's War Council, suggesting she's positioning herself as a rival regent, a shocking element that twists in your gut like a knife, lightly dramatized in the way his shadow lingers on the wall, merging with the torchlight's grotesque dance as he exits, leaving you alone with the edict's crushing weight. Sarcasm bubbles up, sharp and bitter. Splendid. You're the substitute teacher for an empire, but the class is plotting a mutiny, and the syllabus is written in riddles that could get you erased, like running a live stream where the chat's roasting you in real time with no moderator to save you. The metallic tang persists, a phantom flavor that makes you push aside a nearby goblet of water, its surface rippling ominously in the torchlight. And you recall another absurd tidbit. Some regents kept small birds in cages to test for poison in their chambers, their tiny deaths a grim warning of unseen threats, a practice scholars debate as either practical or paranoid, like installing a smoke detector that chirps every time someone looks at you funny. The injustice deepens as you read the edict again, its demands piling like iron chains, requiring you to mediate disputes between feuding generals while maintaining the harem's fragile harmony, all without the Emperor's direct support, his absence a void that leaves you exposed to the court's sharpening claws, like being left to manage a group project after the leader bails, knowing the deadline's looming and the team's already whispering mutiny. The modern comparison hits hard. It's like being thrust into the CEO role during a PR crisis, with the board tweeting their doubts and the stock plummeting, worse than watching your follower count tank after a bad post goes viral for all the wrong reasons. Clever commentary slips in. thinking how these midnight councils are like emergency Zoom calls, where everyone's muted but plotting in the breakout rooms, and you're the one stuck presenting to a screen full of skeptical faces. The torchlight mutates now, its flame shrinking as the humidity smothers it, casting your shadow long and distorted, a towering figure that belies the fragility of your position, and the metallic tang grows sharper, as if the air itself is laced with the iron of betrayal. You move to the window, where the night stillness is broken by a distant owl's cry, its mournful note echoing the sadness that swells when you think of your family. Their faces now a forbidden memory, severed by imperial decree, leaving you to face this regency alone, like losing your entire contact list to a phone crash with no backup in sight. A loneliness deeper than scrolling through a silent social feed on a sleepless night. Historians argue over whether regents like you were empowered architects of empire or mere puppets strung along by manipulative courts. Their debates a faint hum in your mind as you clutch the jade seal, its coldness a constant reminder of the power that isolates you with every decree. The shocking sadness deepens when you overhear a servant outside whispering about your cousin's exile. His name now a curse in the provinces, his fate a wound you inflicted that festers in your heart, like deleting a friend's number after a fight you can't undo. Another sarcastic quip rises well done. You've just been handed the keys to the kingdom, but the locks are rigged, and the doors lead to trapdoors, like playing a strategy game where every move triggers a hidden penalty. As you sit at your desk, the edict spread before you. A soft knock announces a messenger bearing a report from the War Council, its contents hinting at Lian's secret meetings with northern lords, her ambition a shadow that threatens to eclipse your regency, pulling you deeper into the tightening web of intrigue. The sensory struggle peaks as the jasmine incense's sweetness turns nauseating, the humidity pressing against your eyes until they burn, and the injustice of ruling without trust cuts deeper than any physical chain. Your role, a paradox of power and vulnerability. The absurd tidbit lingers some regents used hidden mirrors to spy on their own chambers, reflecting plots back to their source, a practice scholars debate as either ingenious or a sign of madness born from endless suspicion, like setting up a nanny cam to catch your own shadow plotting against you. The torchlight flickers one last time, casting a shadow resembling a cracked jade seal, pooling on the floor like spilled ink from a treacherous quill, and the psychological chill deepens, whispering, what sharper chains will bind you when the allies you trusted turn to shadows in the flickering light, zoom out once more, and the palace becomes a silhouette in the silent night, its walls a fortress against the world but a prison for the heart, the stillness a canvas for the conspiracies that simmer like embers waiting to ignite. But back in the chamber, the metallic tang lingers, a constant companion that sours the air, and as you seal the edict with your trembling hand, the torchlight fades entirely, leaving only the sound of your own heartbeat and the distant owl's cry, a mood shift toward dread that asks, how long can you wield this fractured power before the shadows claim you whole? The palace lies hushed under a moonless sky, its silence broken only by the faint drip of lingering rain from the eaves, each drop echoing the pulse of your own unease as you sit alone in your chamber, the air thick with the rancid stench of treachery's rotting fruit, a sour decay that seeps from the walls like the ghosts of fallen allies, coating your tongue with a bitterness sharper than any poison, and making every breath a struggle against the weight of conspiracies that roar louder than the storm's fading thunder, their invisible tendrils wrapping around your heart like vines strangling a forgotten tree in the humid midnight hours. The torchlight is gone now, replaced by a single oil lamp that sputters weakly on your desk, its flame casting wavering shadows that twist like the whispers of a coup turning to roars, mutating the metallic tang of suspicion into a suffocating dread that clings to your damp nightrobe, the silk heavy with sweat and fear. A sensory struggle that makes your skin prickle as if crawling with unseen insects, each movement amplifying the ache in your bound feet, their throbbing a constant reminder of the absurd historical tidbit that empresses were sometimes confined to their chambers during coup rumors, their doors guarded by eunuchs who doubled as spies, a practice historians debate as either protective seclusion or a subtle form of imprisonment, like being locked in a penthouse suite with a security system that reports your every move to a rival CEO, worse than living in a smart home where the AI's loyalty is up for grabs. Oh, the sarcasm curls in your mind like smoke from a doused fire, Congratulations, you're the Empress Regent, the ultimate influencer of the Forbidden City, but your trending topic is treason, and the algorithm's rigged to bury you under a pile of hashtags sharper than any guillotine, more exhausting than dodging trolls in a viral Twitter thread that's spiraling out of control. A physical event shatters the silence as a hurried knock rattles the door, and Wei bursts in without waiting for permission, his face ashen under the lamp's dim glow, clutching a crumpled scroll that smells faintly of mildew, its wax seal broken and smudged. And as you unfold it, the words scrawled in hasty ink reveal a Northern Lord's open defiance, accusing you of mismanaging the tax decree and rallying allies to challenge your regency. A shocking betrayal that hits like a punch to the gut, lightly dramatized in the way Wei's hands shake as he whispers that May's name appears in the conspirators' correspondence. Her whispered plots now roaring into a full-blown coup attempt that threatens to topple you before the Emperor's return. The rancid stench intensifies, a sensory assault that makes your stomach churn as if you've swallowed the rotting fruit of their treachery, and the injustice of it all burns hotter than any brazier. Knowing you're blamed for policies you were forced to enforce, your regency a poisoned chalice that isolates you further in this gilded tomb, like being scapegoated for a company's bad earnings report when you were just following the board's orders. Worse than taking the fall for a failed startup launch while the real culprits cash out. Sarcasm bites again. Brilliant. You've gone from regent to public enemy number one, starring in a historical drama where the plot twist is everyone's out to cancel you, like being the villain in a Reddit thread where the upvotes go to your rivals. The lamp's flame flickers, casting grotesque shadows that mimic shattered thrones, and a factual moment weaves in as you recall Empress Zetian, revisited with a twist. She faced similar coup attempts during her regency, quelling them by executing entire noble families. But in a lesser-known act, she spared one conspirator only to exile him to a frozen frontier, later learning he rallied rebels against her, a mistake that haunted her reign with sleepless nights. Her story a mirror to your own as you clutch the scroll, its mildew scent a reminder of the decay spreading through your court, where allies like Wei might be wavering under May's influence. Zoom out for a lyrical breath, and the Forbidden City huddles in the dark like a wounded giant, its rain-soaked walls glistening with the tears of forgotten regents, widening to reveal a history where coups blossomed like weeds in the cracks of power, their roots nourished by the blood of those who dared to rule, their echoes resonating through the silent night like a dirge for lost trust. But the sensory struggle yanks you back as the rancid stench chokes your lungs, the humidity pressing against your temples until they throb, and the scroll's words blur in your vision, the lamp's dim light making every letter a potential lie, amplifying the paranoia that makes every creak of the palace beams sound like conspirators gathering in the shadows. He lingers, his breath shallow, and you question him sharply, his stammered assurances doing little to dispel the dread that May's plots have infected even the Emperor's loyal servants, a sad element that deepens your empathy for Empress Dowager Cixi, who navigated similar betrayals in the Qing dynasty, using spies to uncover coups only to find her own informants turning for bribes. Her isolation a fortress built from necessity that crumbled under the weight of her own distrust, her story a warning that your regency could end in the same lonely exile. The modern comparison strikes vividly. It's like running a campaign where your team leaks your strategy to the opposition, leaving you to face the fallout on live TV, worse than watching your poll numbers tank after a debate gaffe goes viral. Clever commentary slips in, thinking how these midnight plots are like a bad group project, where everyone's slacking but pointing fingers at you, and the deadline's a guillotine waiting to drop. The absurd tidbit surfaces some empresses kept coded diaries hidden in jade vases to document suspected traitors, their cryptic symbols a desperate attempt to track conspiracies, a practice scholars debate as either cunning or futile, like encrypting your notes app to hide your suspicions from a nosy roommate who's already hacked your Wi-Fi. The rancid stench grows unbearable, blending with the mildew of the scroll, and you push it aside, its weight a physical burden that mirrors the emotional one, the injustice of being both ruler and target twisting in your gut like a knot you can't untie. Your regency, a paradox where power is a cage with bars forged from whispers. You move to the window, where the night's darkness presses against the lattice, the rain's drip slowing to a mournful rhythm, and a faint glow from a distant pavilion catches your eye. Perhaps Leon's quarters, where she might be plotting with the same nobles named in the scroll, her ambition a fire that threatens to consume your fragile authority. The lamp's flame mutates now, its light shrinking to a pinprick that casts your shadow long and distorted, a towering empress dwarfed by the conspiracies roaring around her, and the bitterness on your tongue sharpens, a psychosomatic echo of the treachery you can't escape. Historians argue over whether coups like this were inevitable in a system where regents wielded power without divine mandate, or if they were sparked by the very isolation that forced women like you to rule alone. Their debates a distant hum as you clutch the jade seal, its coldness a constant reminder of the authority that isolates you with every use. The shocking sadness swells when you think of your cousin, exiled by your own decree, his face now a ghost in your memory, his fate a wound you inflicted that festers like the mildew on the scroll, like deleting a family photo from your cloud storage only to realize there's no backup. Another sarcastic quip rises, well played. You're the captain of this sinking ship, but the crew's drilling holes in the hull, and the lifeboats are reserved for your rivals, like starring in a blockbuster where you're written out by the second act. The chamber grows quieter, the rain's drip fading into an eerie stillness, and a soft rustle outside announces a second messenger, bearing another scroll, this one unmarked and sealed with plain wax. Its contents a cryptic warning that the Northern Lord's rebellion has gained May's open support, pulling you deeper into the roaring tide of betrayal. The sensory struggle peaks as the rancid stench fills your lungs, the humidity pressing against your eyes until they burn, and the injustice of being blamed for a coup you didn't ignite cuts deeper than any blade. Your role a tightrope stretched over a pit of vipers. The absurd tidbit lingers some regents used hidden bells sewn into their robes to signal loyal guards during coup attempts, their faint chimes a last-ditch cry for help. A practiced scholar's debate as either resourceful or a sign of desperation that rarely saved them, like sending an SOS text to a group chat that's already muted you. Zoom out once more, and the palace becomes a shadow in the night, its walls a fortress against the world but a prison for the soul. The silence a canvas for the conspiracies that roar like a storm waiting to break. But back in the chamber, the rancid stench lingers, a constant companion that sours the air, and as you clutch the second scroll, the lamp's flame gutters out, plunging the room into darkness broken only by a distant lightning flash, a mood shift toward terror that asks, what sharper roars will echo when the coup's shadows step into the light? The shadows coalesce into strange forms resembling overturned thrones, spilling darkness across the floor like wine stained with treachery, pooling at your feet in silent menace. The throne room crackles with a tension sharper than the storm's fading lightning, its vast expanse lit by towering braziers that roar with flames hotter than any forge, their heat searing your skin as you stand at the center of a tempest of accusations, the air thick with the acrid stench of burning oil and the bitter undercurrent of false charges that crash like thunderous waves against your ears, drowning out the murmurs of the assembled nobles whose eyes glitter with malice, their silk robes rustling like a chorus of vipers poised to strike. Your heart pounds, a physical drumbeat echoing the shouts that erupt when the Emperor, returned from the border, points a trembling finger at you, his voice booming with claims of disloyalty stoked by May's venomous whispers, a shocking betrayal that burns hotter than the brazier's flames, lightly dramatized in the way his eyes, once warm, now blaze with suspicion, as if you've become the villain in his narrative overnight. The heavy robes cling to your sweat-soaked frame, mutating the rancid stench of treachery into a suffocating weight that presses against your chest. A sensory struggle that makes every breath feel like inhaling fire, and the jade seal in your hand feels like a molten brand, its coldness replaced by the heat of this climactic confrontation. Oh, the sarcasm slithers through your mind like a bitter jest bravo. You've reached the season finale of this imperial drama, but the plot twist casts you as the traitor, like being framed in a corporate scandal where the whistleblower's pointing at you. Worse than waking up to a trending hashtag calling for your cancellation. The physical event escalates as a minister, aligned with Leon, steps forward with a scroll detailing forged evidence letters allegedly penned by you to the Northern Lords, promising them power in exchange for rebellion, a fabrication so convincing it makes your knees buckle. The injustice of it all a searing wound deeper than any physical burn, like being accused of hacking the company server when you barely know the password. A factual moment weaves in as you recall Empress Zetian, revisited with a twist. She faced similar false accusations during her regency, narrowly escaping execution by exposing a rival's forged seals. But her victory came at the cost of purging half her court, leaving her isolated in a throne room much like this. Her story a mirror to your own as you face this cataclysm, the shouts echoing like her own haunted memories. Zoom out for a lyrical breath, and the forbidden city looms under a sky bruised with retreating storm clouds, its golden roofs reflecting the brazier's fire like a warning of empires consumed by their own mistrust, widening to reveal a history where thrones were won and lost on the edge of a lie, their flames burning through centuries of shattered loyalties. But the sensory struggle pulls you back as the acrid stench chokes your lungs, the heat from the braziers singeing the edges of your robes, and the Emperor's shouts grow louder, demanding your defense as May stands smugly to the side, her smile a poisoned blade that cuts deeper than any accusation. The injustice burns hotter, your regency a role you never sought, now twisted into a noose of false charges, and you force your voice to rise, steady but trembling, denying the letter's authenticity, though the noble's skeptical glares make you feel like a lone whistleblower in a room full of corporate loyalists. Worse than pitching a startup idea to a board that's already shorted your stock. Sarcasm bites again. Fantastic. You're the star witness in your own trial, but the jury's bought and paid for, like facing a Reddit mob that's already downvoted your truth into oblivion. The absurd tidbit surfaces some empresses carried hidden ink stamps to mark forged documents as false, a desperate countermeasure that historians debate as either cunning or futile, like watermarking your emails to prove you didn't send that incriminating memo. The shocking sadness hits when you realize once your cautious ally stands silent among the accusers, his eyes averted, his betrayal a wound deeper than the Emperor's wrath, like losing your best friend to a clique that's turned against you, leaving you to face the mob alone. A modern comparison stings. It's akin to being doxxed online, your reputation shredded by lies that spread faster than you can type a rebuttal. Worse than watching your follower count plummet after a viral smear campaign. Clever commentary slips in, thinking how this throne room tempest is like a live stream deposition where the chat's cheering for your downfall, and the Emperor's the host who's muted your mic. The brazier's flames mutate now, their roar softening to a menacing crackle, casting shadows that twist like the forged letter's lies, and you clutch the jade seal tighter, its weight a reminder of the power you wielded, now crumbling under the weight of this orchestrated betrayal. Historians argue over whether such throne room confrontations were genuine trials or staged spectacles to eliminate threats. Their debates a faint echo as you face the Emperor's unrelenting gaze, his favour now a distant memory replaced by a fury you can't appease. The sensory struggle peaks as the acrid stench blends with the sweat stinging your eyes, blurring the faces into a haze of hostility, and you speak again, pointing to inconsistencies in the scroll's handwriting, a desperate plea that falls on ears already poisoned by May's cunning, her influence a fire that's consumed your fragile alliances. The shocking sadness deepens as you think of your cousin, exiled by your own hand, his absence a ghost in this room, like a deleted contact you can't call for support when the world's turned against you. Another sarcastic quip rises. Well played. You've gone from regent to renegade in record time, like being voted off the island in a reality show where the audience rigged the polls. As the Emperor raises a hand to silence you, the braziers flare, casting your shadow as a broken crown on the floor, and the shouts fade into a tense hush, the nobles waiting for his verdict like vultures circling a wounded beast. The injustice of being framed for a coup you fought to prevent burns hotter than the flames, and the rancid stench of treachery lingers, a constant companion that sours the air. Zoom out once more, and the throne room becomes a crucible of empire, its walls echoing with the screams of fallen regents. The brazier's fire a testament to the fleeting nature of power that consumes all who grasp it. But back in the heat, the Emperor's eyes narrow, and you feel the weight of every gaze, the shadows pooling like spilled ink, a psychological chill cutting through the flames, whispering, what final verdict will shatter the silence when the tempest's roar demands your fall? The brazier's flames flicker in strange patterns, resembling fractured jade seals, their light dimming as if mourning the truth buried beneath the lies. The air in your exiled pavilion hangs heavy with the chill of endless rain, its relentless patter against the tiled roof, a mournful rhythm that soaks your tattered silk robes, wrapping around you like wet rags that cling to your shivering frame, their damp weight mutating the throne room's searing heat into a bone-deep cold that seeps through your skin, a sensory struggle that mirrors the slow erosion of your once mighty regency. Now reduced to this forgotten wing of the Forbidden City where the stench of mildew and abandoned dreams permeates the walls, as if the palace itself weeps for your fall, you sit on a low wooden bench, the jade seal long confiscated, its absence a phantom ache in your palm, and the dim glow of a single lantern casts wavering shadows that twist like the ghosts of your former power. Their forms a mutated echo of the throne room's fractured crowns, reminding you of the absurd historical tidbit that exiled empresses were often sent to dilapidated pavilions like this, their finery replaced with coarse cloth, a custom historians debate as either merciful banishment or a cruel, slow death by neglect, like being demoted to a cubicle in the basement after running the C-suite, worse than being ghosted by your entire network after a public scandal. Oh, the sarcasm drips like the rain through the leaking roof. Congratulations. You've traded the throne for a timeshare in this soggy purgatory, where the guest book's filled with regrets, and the concierge is a rat scurrying in the shadows, more isolating than being locked out of your own social media accounts with no password reset in sight. A physical event unfolds as a servant. A young girl with nervous eyes delivers a tray of cold rice and wilted greens, her hands trembling as she whispers that the Emperor has stripped you of your title, citing your alleged treason, a shocking injustice that lands like a stone in your gut, lightly dramatized in the way her voice cracks, hinting at rumors that May now holds his favor, her cunning having woven the lies that cast you here. The mildew stench intensifies, a sensory assault that makes your throat tighten, and the injustice of your fall burns deeper than the cold. Knowing you're punished for a coup you fought to prevent, your voice silenced like a whistleblower buried under corporate red tape, worse than watching your reputation tank on a review site you can't respond to. A factual moment weaves in as you recall Empress Dowager Sixie, revisited with a twist she too faced exile to a remote palace during a power struggle, only to claw her way back through sheer cunning. But her brief banishment left her so paranoid that she slept with a dagger under her pillow, her story a mirror to your own as you sit in this damp prison. The rain's chill a constant reminder of the fragility of power. Zoom out for a lyrical breath, and the Forbidden City sprawls under a weeping sky, its red walls and golden roofs dulled by the downpour, widening to reveal a history of exiled consorts whose names faded like rain-soaked ink, their stories washed away by the relentless tide of imperial ambition. But the sensory struggle pulls you back as the wet rags of your robes chafe against your skin, the cold seeping into your joints until they ache, and the lantern's flickering light casts grotesque patterns that mimic broken phoenix crowns, amplifying the despair that makes every creak of the rotting beams sound like the palace mocking your downfall. The servant lingers, her eyes darting to the door, and you ask about Wei, hoping for an ally, only to learn he's vanished, likely bribed or silenced by May's growing influence, a sad element that deepens your empathy for those like Empress Zetian, who endured betrayals in exile, her return to power marked by a ruthlessness born of such abandonment, her legacy a warning that survival demands a heart hardened by solitude. The modern comparison stings. It's like being laid off after a corporate takeover, your desk cleared out while your former colleagues avoid your calls, worse than seeing your LinkedIn profile go stale as your connections unfollow you one by one. Clever commentary slips in, thinking how this exiled pavilion is like a bad Airbnb rental, complete with leaky ceilings and no Wi-Fi, and the host review is a death sentence disguised as a guest survey. The absurd tidbit surfaces some exiled empresses were allowed to keep a single jade hairpin as a token of their former status, a cruel memento that historians debate as either a gesture of pity or a taunt, to remind them of lost glory, like keeping a trophy from a game you were forced to forfeit. The rain's patter grows softer, but the chill deepens, your breath visible in the lantern's dim glow, and the mildew stench clings like a curse, a constant companion that sours the air. You push the tray aside, the cold rice untouched, and the injustice of your exile festers like an open wound. Your role as regent now a memory erased by May's lies, her victory a fire that's burned through your fragile alliances. Historians argue over whether such exiles were strategic purges to eliminate threats or petty vendettas driven by court rivalries. Their debates a faint hum as you trace the rough grain of the bench, its splinters pricking your fingers like tiny accusations. The shocking sadness swells when you think of your cousin, exiled by your own decree, now likely dead in some frontier wasteland. His fate a mirror to your own, like losing a friend to a fight you can't undo, the guilt heavier than the damp robes. Another sarcastic quip rises well done. You've hit rock bottom in the imperial housing market, where the views all regret and the neighbours are ghosts, like being stuck in a reality show where the eviction episode never ends. The lantern flickers, casting your shadow as a hunched figure on the wall, and a faint knock announces the servant's return. Her hands empty but her eyes wide with fear, whispering that Leon has been summoned to the Emperor's side, her ambition now a rival to May's, pulling you deeper into the web of betrayal. The sensory struggle peaks as the mildew stench fills your lungs, the cold pressing against your eyes until they burn, and the injustice of being cast aside for lies you couldn't refute cuts deeper than any blade. The absurd tidbit lingers. Some exiles were allowed to plant a single tree in their pavilion's courtyard, a symbol of hope that rarely survived the rains, a practice scholars debate as either redemptive or futile, like posting a motivational quote online when your life's falling apart. The lantern's flame gutters out, plunging the room into darkness broken only by the rain's soft dirge, and the psychological chill deepens, whispering, "What ghosts will rise from this damp solitude to haunt your fading dreams?" The shadows coalesce into strange forms resembling shattered jade hairpins, pooling on the floor like tears frozen in time. The rain has dwindled to a ghostly whisper outside your exile pavilion, leaving a damp chill that seeps through the cracked wooden walls, wrapping your tattered robes around you like sodden bandages, their clammy weight pressing against your skin as if the palace itself is trying to smother the last sparks of your spirit. The air thick with the musty scent of rotting timber and the lingering filth of past wrongs that clings to your hands like invisible grime, a sensory struggle that makes every breath feel heavy with the burden of regrets, as if you're inhaling the dust of forgotten empresses whose ghosts haunt these desolate halls. You sit on the splintered bench, the dim lantern long extinguished, its absence plunging the room into a twilight gloom where shadows twist like the spectres of your purged kin. Their forms a mutated echo of the shattered jade hairpins, and your bound feet throb with a relentless ache, a reminder of the absurd historical tidbit that exiled consorts were sometimes forced to unbind their feet as a mark of disgrace, a painful reversal that historians debate as either a liberation from torture or a final humiliation, like being stripped of a corporate title and told to clean out your desk in front of the team, worse than losing your verified badge on social media after a public fall. Oh, the sarcasm curls in your mind like a bitter vine welcome to the Imperial retirement plan, where the severance package is a rotting shack and the pension is a lifetime supply of guilt, more crushing than waking up to a notification that your entire digital presence has been wiped clean. A physical event unfolds as a faint rustle at the door announces the arrival of a cloaked figure, an old maid named Shu, her face weathered like the pavilion's beams, who slips you a crumpled note hidden in a loaf of stale bread, its ink smudged but urgent, warning that May's influence is faltering as Leon's plots gain traction, a shocking twist that stirs a flicker of hope, lightly dramatized in the way Shu's trembling hands betray her fear of being caught, her loyalty a fragile thread in this web of betrayal. The musty scent intensifies, a sensory assault that makes your throat tighten, and the injustice of your exile burns like a smouldering ember, knowing you're trapped here while your rivals vie for the throne you once held, like being sidelined in a boardroom battle where the new hires are stealing your pitch. Worse than watching your startup stock crash while you're locked out of the trading app. A factual moment weaves in as you recall Empress Dowager Tixi, revisited with a twist. She orchestrated her return from exile by bribing guards with smuggled jewels. But her victory came at the cost of executing her own nephew, a purge that left her haunted by his ghostly wails. Her story a mirror to your own as you clutch the note, its smudged words a faint hope that your own ghosts might yet be silenced. Zoom out for a lyrical breath, and the forbidden city lies shrouded in mist, its rain-soaked walls a silent graveyard for fallen consorts, widening to reveal a history where exiles wove secret rebellions from the shadows, their whispers rising like fog to challenge the thrones that cast them out. But the sensory struggle pulls you back as the rotting timber's stench chokes your lungs, the damp chill pressing against your temples until they throb, and the note's words blur in the gloom, amplifying the despair that makes every creak of the pavilion sound like the ghosts of your past wrongs stirring in the dark. Shu whispers that the Emperor's health is failing, a rumour spreading like wildfire, and Leon's plotting to seize regency. A sad element that deepens your empathy for those like Empress Zetian, who faced similar ghosts in exile. Her return to power marked by a ruthlessness that buried her regrets under layers of ambition. Her legacy, a warning that redemption comes at a cost heavier than any crown. The modern comparison stings. It's like being laid off only to hear your old company's imploding without you. But you're still stuck in the unemployment line. Worse than seeing your former team's group chat light up with drama you can't join. Clever commentary slips in, thinking how this exiled pavilion is like a forgotten subreddit, where the posts are all regrets and the mods are ghosts, and you're the only user left refreshing for replies that never come. The absurd tidbit surfaces some exiles were allowed to keep a single scroll of poetry as a solace. Its verses are faint comfort that historians debate as either a spark of humanity or a cruel taunt. Like being given a journal to document your downfall in a world that's already forgotten your name. The injustice festers, your exile a punishment for lies you didn't weave, and the filth of past wrongs clings to your hands, a constant reminder of the cousin you condemned and the allies you lost, like carrying a phone full of unsent apologies you'll never deliver. The shocking sadness swells when you imagine your family, their faces erased by imperial decree, their absence a wound deeper than the pavilion's damp, like losing your entire contact list to a crash you can't recover from. Another sarcastic quip rises, well done. You're the guest star in this historical horror show, but the script's written you out, and the audience is rooting for the villains, like being cancelled in a fandom where the fanfiction's already buried your arc. The gloom deepens as Shu slips away, her cloak blending into the shadows, and the note's faint promise of May's faltering power stirs a fragile resolve, pulling you deeper into the ghost's embrace, as you wonder if you can turn their whispers into a rebellion of your own. The sensory struggle peaks as the musty stench fills your lungs, the chill pressing against your eyes until they burn, and the injustice of being forgotten cuts sharper than any blade. The absurd tidbit lingers some exiles carved secret messages into the pavilion's beams, their defiance hidden in plain sight, a practice scholars debate as either futile or a spark for future uprisings, like graffiti on a corporate bathroom stall that nobody but the janitor sees. The shadows coalesce into strange forms resembling cracked scrolls, pooling on the floor like ink from a broken quill, and the psychological chill deepens, whispering, "What ghosts will you summon when the pavilion's silence demands your defiance?"